Um, Bearded Heretic says, can't you take Anakin's point and say that anything can be bad from a certain point of view? You can take that view if you so wish. If you're going to take a purely subjectivist approach, I guess. Um,
I didn't just torture the man, I tortured the women and the children too. I tortured them like they were animals. Yeah.
I think what you need to do from that, though, is actually consider the purpose of morality. And so, obviously, you understand morality is the principles of behavior as good or good, bad, right, wrong sort of judgments on said behavior. But what you've got to think about is how how morality came about and what its actual purpose is. And if you look throughout societies forever, there seems to be a goal of not just survival of our species, but that's sort of how it started. If you have a collaborative and cohesive society, you look after each other's well-being, which allows humans to flourish. So if we take that as the end point of what morality is for, flourishing, we can then look back and say, right, does this help humans flourish? Yes, no. And you can do scientific studies into certain things. You look at things like abuse and rape and things like that. There is enough evidence there to objectively say things like rape and abuse are wrong. If you take a purely subjectivist approach, then the rapist deciding that it's a moral action would make it a moral action because that is their decision and they're the actor in that case. Now, I don't think any of us would say the rapist is moral to rape. We'd hold them to a standard above their personal opinion, thus showing that from a certain angle, morality is not wholly subjective, even though there are subjective parts to it.
I mean, generally, when it comes to morality, there's a few different approaches you can take. There's the emotivist sort of approach where there is no truth to moral statements. Moral statements are expressions of emotion. So when we say something like it's immoral to rape, what we're saying is that we find rape to give us an emotionally negative response. But then if there's no truth to moral statements, then it doesn't really say much about whether rape is good or bad. It just says you find it distasteful.
Mm.
Um, there's a subjective approach where you say that the truth maker for a moral statement comes from the person's opinion. And then there's the objective approach, which is the truth maker comes from somewhere outside of personal opinion.